Hello and welcome back to Israel with Aline. Is the third temple of Jerusalem really being built? Today we are going to learn the whole truth about the preparations for the construction of the third temple. Let's find out what is real and what is fake and go into the Temple Institute and see the preparations with our own eyes. So if you are ready, let's get started. The Temple of Jerusalem was built by King Solomon 3,000 years ago on Mount Moriah, the place where Abraham made the near sacrifice of his son Isaac. This temple was destroyed by the Babylonians, and 70 years later the second temple of Jerusalem was rebuilt exactly in the same place. But this temple was also destroyed by the Romans in the year 70. This means that the people of Israel have been without a temple for almost 2,000 years. And to this day, there is a national day of mourning on the date of the temple's destruction. This day is called Tisha B'Av, and we even made a video here on the channel to show you this intense day of mourning for the people of Israel. I will leave the link here for you. And even today, in Israel, there is the expectation and dream of rebuilding the Jerusalem temple. The glory of the Lord entered the temple through the gate facing east, and the Spirit lifted me up and took me to the inner court, and behold, the glory of the Lord filled the temple. While the man was standing beside me, I heard a voice directed at me from inside the temple. The Lord said to me, "Son of man, this is the place of my throne and the place of the soles of my feet, where I will dwell among the children of Israel forever." But unfortunately, there are many fake news circulating on the internet regarding the construction of the third temple. And today we are going to separate what is real from what is fake, because there is a lot really happening in that direction. One of the things that might be one of the most known is this gold menorah that is behind me. This menorah, this 7-branch candelabrum, was created by the Temple Institute, and it follows exactly the biblical instructions. And it was created in this way precisely so that it can be used inside the third temple of Jerusalem. This menorah is over 6 feet 6 inches tall and weighs half a ton, of which 45 kilos are 24-karat gold, which were used to coat it. So everything we see here is real gold, and its value today is estimated by the Temple Institute costing $3 million. And is this menorah a real part of the preparations for the third temple of Jerusalem? You mean, will it be taken to the third temple of Jerusalem when that happens? But until then, it is displayed here in the main square of the Jewish quarter of the old city of Jerusalem for all those who want to pass by and appreciate it and think about the future of this city. But just as there are true things, there is a lot of fake news circulating on the internet. I saw last year a novelty was being prepared, a fast train that would connect Tel Aviv's international airport directly to the third temple of Jerusalem. There's just one problem. Does this train already exist? Does a train that connects Tel Aviv airport to the city of Jerusalem already exist? The issue is that it doesn't go to the third temple, but this train connects to the entrance of the city, and from there you can take the light rail transit, which is a surface train, until you reach the old city of Jerusalem. So those news were false because the train has existed for a long time, and the train was not made specifically for the project of the third temple of Jerusalem, and that is the main point. Why? Because the government of Israel does not participate in anything, but absolutely nothing to do with the project of the Third Temple. They don't want to participate because they are afraid that their participation will stir conflict with the local Muslims and also with the neighboring Arab and Muslim countries. Therefore, the entire temple project is carried out by private organizations and NGOs. And of these organizations that are really preparing for the reconstruction of the Third Temple of Jerusalem, the most important, without a doubt, is the Temple Institute, where we are going now. Think about the construction of the Third Temple of Jerusalem. We think about the construction of the building. That means the floor plan, the construction of the physical building, but it's not just that. The Temple of Jerusalem is an extremely complex temple with all the utensils that went inside it, from the shovel to remove ashes, the utensils to store the blood, the olive oil, and also the clothes of the temple priests. That is, everything is very well thought out. And that's why here we see some examples of these utensils and these clothes being made. All of this, folks, is part of the objective of the Institute of the Construction of the Third Temple. For example, this beautiful and luxurious clothing is the high priest's attire from the Temple of Azalem, what we call in Hebrew Kohen Agadol. And his clothing was made with everything good and the best that that era and even today, in reality, has to offer. Everything we see here in gold, folks, is gold. What we're seeing here is all gold, including the golden threads you're seeing are gold threads. The Argamantreller paints are paints produced in a way that is still manual to this day. They cost a lot of money, and here in front we see the high priest's breastplate with 12 stones, precious and semi-precious. Why 12 stones? If we look closely, we see that each one of them has the name of one of the 12 tribes of Israel written on it, and the high priest himself can only be one in the temple. And that's why of this wonderful garment, they produced only one. Now, if we look to the other side, we still have a beautiful garment also made with very good fabrics. This garment was used by the Cohen, by the priests of the Jerusalem temple. And Cohen was a family. This means that there were several Cohens, several priests working at the same time inside the Jerusalem temple. And that's why more than one was made of this outfit. They have some copies stored here at the Institute itself. But one beautiful thing they did is that they allowed Cohens, who are direct descendants of the priests of the Temple of Jerusalem, to come here and buy and receive their own clothes. An amazing thing to think that even today we know who the Cohen and the Leviim are, who are the priests and who are the Levites. We have these generations to this day, and that's why people who are directly descendants of the priests can come identify themselves here at the Temple Institute and receive their clothes. A suit made exactly to measure, but they can't wear it on a daily basis, folks. This suit, it has to be kept for the construction of the Third Temple of Jerusalem. But if this really comes to pass, these people will already be ready with their suit at home, ready to go up to the Temple Mount. So we know who will be the Levites and the priests of the Jerusalem temple. They already have their clothes ready, but is this enough? Of course not. They also need to know how to perform the temple services in practice, how to make the sacrifices, how to play the trumpets, how to perform all the temple services in their smallest details. And for that, there are rehearsals. Twice a year, there are major rehearsals of the temple priests in Jerusalem. They take the clothes they have at home and come here to Jerusalem to do these rehearsals. I'm going to show you now the videos from the last 2 times. What we are seeing is the rehearsal of the Easter Lamb's Passover sacrifice. Every year, during the time of Jewish Passover, these people gather to rehearse the sacrifice of the lamb. And another rehearsal that is done is of a ceremony called Nisur Amayim, which is done during the time of tabernacles, when the Levite priests would go down to the pool of Siloam, and from there they would bring the water to the temple of Jerusalem and go up singing and dancing. Based on stories of peak fans. And of course, the Levites also need to rehearse. They were in charge of the music at the Jerusalem temple, among other things, with musical instruments and songs, and for that reason, twice a month on Fridays, the Levites gathered to rehearse these songs. Let's listen to a bit of that now. And all the utensils, everything we see here, was not created to stay in this museum, in this institute. This was created to be taken to the Temple of Jerusalem, from the smallest things to the largest. Here we see an altar, again built for the third Temple of Jerusalem. And it was built in a special way. It is a disassembled altar. And the idea is that if they want today or tomorrow, they can disassemble this altar in a few hours and take it and reassemble it in the Temple of Jerusalem. Everything thought out in the smallest details. We are entering the most important room of all. Here are stored the utensils for inside the sanctuary, the area that will not be allowed to the general public. Only the priest, the Kohen, will be able to enter it. But until that happens, we have the privilege of seeing these utensils displayed here. One of them is the incense altar, and it was made exactly as the Bible commands, from acacia wood covered in gold. Yes, all of this here, folks, everything we see in gold is real gold, 24 carats. How did it work? They ground 11 spices together here, and this powder was placed on the altar and burned, and it had a smell that is really described as wonderful. And among the priests, one was chosen who would have the honor of lighting the incense altar. What else do we have in here? Let's see. Here we see the menorah. But now you know this is not the real one. The menorah actually made by the Temple Institute, according to the biblical measurements and instructions, it is in the central square of the Jewish quarter, and they have put a replica here, but the real one is there. What is true here are all the other utensils. What we see here below are jugs with first press extra virgin olive oil, the best possible. And this oil will be placed on the real menorah and used to illuminate the sanctuary. There are some things that the Bible does not tell us exactly. Certainly, there are other utensils that the Bible does not tell us what material they should be. Whether it needs to be gold, silver, but many utensils, even though they didn't need to be gold, they still decided to make them out of gold and silver. Why? Because we want to give the best we have to God. And the most important thing inside the sanctuary was the Holy of Holies, and it was behind the veil. And what was found inside the Holy of Holies? The Ark of the Covenant. And of all the important utensils of the Jerusalem temple, one of them was not made. The Ark of the Covenant was not made. It is here to remind us of what the ark looked like and to remind us of its importance. But this ark was not made according to biblical instructions because there is no intention to put it inside the third temple of Jerusalem. Why? Why? First, because the great importance of the ark was not the ark on the outside, but what was inside it, especially the tablets of the law. And that's why it doesn't make sense to build the ark without having the tablets of the law. But there's another reason, a very special reason, because the population of Israel, and especially here in Jerusalem, believes that the ark did not disappear, but that it remains here in the city itself, that the Babylonians did not take it away. Now, there is a widely accepted theory here in Jerusalem that the ark is hidden in the underground of the Temple Mount. Unfortunately, this location is not accessible. The one who has the permission is the UACF. It's a Muslim organization, and they do not allow archaeological excavations, let alone Jewish excavations. What did happen was in the year of 1983, on a summer day, Rabbi Yehuda Goetz, along with two other people, managed to gain access through the tunnels of the Wailing Wall, entering the underground of the Temple Mount. And they began to investigate there, and they believe they have found the location of the Ark of the Covenant, which without a doubt, if it really was found, is the most important archaeological find of the 20th and 21st centuries. Unfortunately, what happens? They left, the Israeli police found out that this happened, the local Arabs found out that this happened and began to threaten a revolt, and so on the same day they brought trucks and concreted this entrance. And we can see this concreted entrance to this day on the tours of the Western Wall Tunnel. Perhaps the Ark is there. We made a complete video of where the Ark of the Covenant might be. I will leave it linked here for you, but the important thing is that the ark was not remade, and this ark here reminds us of the original that maybe one day will still be found. As you saw, we have practically everything ready here for the construction of the third temple of Jerusalem. So why doesn't the construction of the temple itself, begin? Why don't they take the blueprints and start laying one stone after another? We have some problems, some theological and eschatological issues about when the temple can be rebuilt and with God's permission, how this should be done. But we have another problem, a worldly, mundane problem. And when I say worldly, it's literally a land problem, because on the exact spot where the first and second Jerusalem temple stood, on that exact spot, the Dome of the Rock was built. Listen to the name of the place. The Dome of the Rock is a dome built on a large rock. This rock is the peak of Mount Moriah, where Abraham went to make the near sacrifice of his son Isaac. And so, when we talk about the construction of the third temple of Jerusalem, the Bible indicates to us that it has to be done on the same place. Now the Dome of the Rock is a Muslim building built in the 7th century, and obviously they do not allow this place to be accessible to Jews and Christians. In fact, we can't even enter the Dome of the Rock nowadays, let alone pray, and much less indeed, build a Jewish sanctuary, temple, the Temple of Jerusalem on this site. And that's why, at the moment, the UACF, which is this Muslim organization that controls the site, does not allow any Jewish activity on the Temple Mount at all. And this, at the moment, is one of the major obstacles to the construction of the Third Temple of Jerusalem. And that's why every time you hear that they started to build the Third Temple of Jerusalem and they show works and lands and cranes and constructions, I can assure you that they are fake news. Everything that's real we are showing here today. And as you've seen, a lot is really happening. But the building construction is connected to the Temple Mount, which nowadays is practically inaccessible. And so, in reality, we say goodbye to today, talking about everything that has already evolved for the construction of the Third Temple, but also about the major obstacles to its construction. And that's why I'm standing here between two stones. These stones that you are seeing are the original from the Second Temple of Jerusalem. Are these pieces of the gates of Ruda, the south entrance of the Temple of Jerusalem? So we don't have the Third Temple yet, but we have here some archaeological pieces that remind us of how glorious Jerusalem was in ancient times. And I want to thank all of you who watched today's video. If you liked it and found it interesting, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. A big kiss and see you next time.